right. Hey, everybody. I just want to welcome you to another episode of TMI with Mark and Troy. And we have a really special guest with us today. Dirk Barrett is here to talk to us a little bit about Irreverent Warriors. This is the organization that we are raising funds for when we have our very first
ever
charity golf classic for Triplett-Westendorf. Dirk, thanks for being here. And also thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dirk.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so let's get started with that then. Dirk, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know we're doing Irreverent Warriors, so maybe a little bit about that organization.
Okay.
How it came about.
So Irreverent Warriors has been around approximately 11 years now. It started off as a very, I guess you'd say, grassroots organization. It was some guys that had gotten back. Some were still in, some were out. And they just realized they'd lost that sense of community. So they kind of called the friends group, hey, let's throw around Silkies, let's throw the rucks on, let's go for a ruck, hit a few bars, just kind of have a good day. And that evolved into what is IW now. The main event that we are known for as a group is our Silkies hikes. Most every community tries to put on one a year. It looks absolutely ridiculous. There's a bunch of mostly too old and too fat guys wearing shorts that we shouldn't be wearing in public. But there we are. And actually they found from the psychology of it, it strips down a lot of those walls and defenses that we have. And so instead of, automatically kind of coming in going, I got my reputation. I got to, nobody can see me sniffle or cry or anything. And we already kind of look ridiculous, and we know it. And so it helps strip that down, and it lets those more genuine connections actually be made. It's an unreal place because I spent the majority of my post-service years in kind of what I call the bro-vet era, which is all I'm wearing 511 tactical and my sunglasses, and I think I'm a contractor still. IW was a refreshing total change from that. Instead of that machismo mentality they go with, it's more about the connections. That's really what the hikes are about. You walk along for 8-10 miles, and you're just going to naturally talk to the people around you. Those conversations a lot of times do turn into, oh, you were here, I was there, or I experienced this, and you experienced that. And so we didn't know each other 5 minutes ago, and now we're sharing like deep stuff. It's not uncommon to see several grown men, 2 grown, whatever, middle of the hike, just all of a sudden you're walking along and there's a couple guys standing off to the side of where the element's walking, and they're hugging it out because somebody just had a really bad time. Example, we did a January hike in St. Louis this year, and it turns out to be one of my buddies, had no clue until it happened that this was a trigger for him. We got to a certain point, and they had arranged for a bagpiper to play Amazing Grace as we kind of came into the area. He found out that right then and there that was a huge trigger for him that he never knew of. So, there was a lot of more, the compassion, a little less irreverence there. But that's ultimately what it's all about, is showing you that you're not alone, showing you that you're going through the same things that everybody else is going through. And it's okay to actually share those things and open up about those things rather than just keep it buried inside and let it eat you alive.
So 11 years ago, this was started. And how many members do you have in Iowa, but then also nationwide?
In Iowa, I should have looked that number up. It's kind of a hard one to say because there's no formal membership to join or anything. So really the closest we get to a joining is you signed up for the Facebook page. Okay. And as an example, I was on the Facebook page for 2 years before I did my first hike. Okay. So just because you're on the page, you may have just stumbled across it, feeling what it's about. For me, it was mostly social anxiety. It was a matter of, I don't know anybody that's doing this. I'll stay home that day. Right. And once I finally did it, the only regret I've had since then is I wasted 2 years.
Nice.
Worldwide, because we're actually now worldwide. We've got there will be soon a hike in Canada. We've got a hike in London, Normandy, and Germany.
Oh, wow.
And we are well over 10 million worldwide.
Fantastic.
That's
So
great.
I'm getting the sense it's not just exclusive to men and women who served in the United States then.
Correct. Especially when you're looking at the last 20 years of the GWAT era, Iraq, Afghanistan. It really doesn't matter if you're an American or any of the coalition forces. Sure. You went through the exact same things, and we're all the same people. So at the end of the day, we have the same struggles.
That's great. Fantastic. That's huge. Well, you guys just wrapped up a Silkies hike here recently, right? Was it July 11th?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And you said you had about 477.
Yep. We had 77 that actually hiked with us that day.
Donned the goofy shorts and walked through Des Moines and made it a spectacle.
Yep. And then a handful of us went to the Cubs game afterwards wearing the same shorts.
Right on. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was.
I looked at the news report from Channel 13 that covered that. And one of your quotes, you said it lets you truly show your emotions, which you kind of talked about a little bit. As a man, as a veteran, it's very difficult to show those things because you're taught to, throughout training, to push it down, to suck it up, to press on. But what's the motto? It's okay.
It's okay to not be okay. The official Irreverent Warriors motto is that we bring veterans together using humor and camaraderie to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. We had one of our local coordinators from Milwaukee passed away due to surgical complications just over a year ago. It was spring of 25. And he was, I never got the pleasure of meeting him, but everything I have heard, seen, just an absolutely amazing man. And he was, from what I hear, was being groomed for a more national level spotlight with his talents. So after he passed, there was a huge void there. His brother has actually kind of, to the degree that he could, stepped into that void. Mike used to carry a little pink stuffed unicorn in his backpack, called it Legend. And it was just, again, it's the irreverence. It's the, hey, don't take me seriously because I'm not. And after Mike passed, Legend's at a hike almost every weekend. And he's got so many frequent flyer miles. And Mike is where that it's okay to not be okay came from. That was one of his kind of trademark, just to remind everybody that, you're having a bad day or you're having a bad month. That's okay. It happens and we'll get through this.
That's great.
We
love the cause. We love the, well, first of all, neither Troy or I served in the military. So we have a deep respect for the men and women who do don the uniform, who protect our rights, that we're privileged in this country to be able to, afford to us and our family. And anything we can do to support those men and women who have sacrificed so much, we're excited to do so. But there are so many that come back with those emotional pains, the physical scars we see, but the emotional scars we don't. And those are the ones that unfortunately end up harming a lot of these folks when they come back.
Yeah.
And to put a spotlight on that and to make folks know it's okay not to be okay. And use that humor of being a little self-deprecating. You don't have to be, like you said, the machismo. You don't have to be macho. Sure, there's maybe a time and place for that, but our society seems to put so much pressure on that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's great. Just to have an organization that allows men to open up is pretty cool because it's not the numbers tell us that men are not very good communicators when it comes to relationships and stuff like that. So, to get a group of guys to open up and actually talk about this stuff is pretty cool.
And, like I said, men in general, but even when you get into the veteran space, more so, because we are taught it doesn't matter, make it happen. Stuff all your emotions and your feelings and your pain and everything, your hurt, stuff it down inside, keep the mission going. And at the end of the day, that is phenomenal for the military and what they do. It really sucks when we get back home and we're trying to integrate back with, everybody that hasn't gone through that. And we are perpetual fixers, you know. I tell my wife all the time that she needs to tell me before she brings something up, does she want to vent or does she want to fix? Because I'm going to immediately go to fixes.
Yep. Same.
A mistake
Same
that
way.
every husband ever has made.
But, you know, that whole mentality is ingrained into us to the degree that it makes it extremely difficult to open up and go, hey, I'm hurting. I got some problems here. And I mean, okay, now we've been technically out of war for, you know, pushing a decade now. I had a very close friend of mine just about 2 months ago, received a phone call from a buddy that he'd served with, and he was in crisis. They talked. He thought his buddy was okay. He's like, all right, well, you know, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for talking to me and everything. And before he hung up, he shot himself. And that's something that not only does his family have to deal with, now my buddy has to deal with that. That's something that he's never going to get over. And before I discovered IW, that's something that you just would have stuffed down in and you would have had nightmares and you just suffered through life with it. With IW, it probably wasn't 30 minutes prior, and he had already reached out to two of us to let us know, hey, what happened? He was okay at the time, but he wanted us to know what was going on in case we got a phone call that, you know, hey, we need to jump in the truck and go hang out for a while.
How often does that happen where you get together outside of the Silkies marches or other events that you have where somebody is in crisis and you get together to help them?
Most of us are all, it's really more like smaller friends groups. Like if we knew, hey, something happened and you know, like, hey, somebody's family got in a car accident and they all died except the service member. They're the only one left. Male, female, doesn't matter. We're going to circle the wagons and we're going to do whatever we can to help out in the situation. A lot of things like this are more that smaller. We've made a connection. We know each other to a degree. And it can be something where you reach out and chit chat a little bit before a hike. Hey, you going to be here? Okay, cool. I'll see you next weekend. Or it can be like I've got a couple different group chats. There's 2 or 3, 4 of us in each one that every few days we just, you know, hey, how you doing? You know, dumb memes and, you know, things that we can't air on the air. You know, just, you know, make sure everybody's still there.
Yeah.
How often do you have hikes locally locally, statewide, national?
So currently, traditionally, Irreverent Warriors is based out of a city. So it'll be like IW, Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines. The Facebook page for Irreverent Warriors for local here is actually IW, Iowa, because for a period we had a hike in Des Moines, Cedar Falls, and Quad Cities. And so they just decided Facebook-wise, social media-wise, they just combined that into one group. Since that time, Cedar Falls and Quad Cities are no longer hikes. So it is just Des Moines. But if you're looking for us, it's IW, Iowa. So with that, we do a hike once a year. Most of the communities, that's what they stick to, is just one a year. When you look at nationwide, we'll say between February, March, and November, you're pretty much close to a hike every weekend, if not 2 or 3 hikes in a weekend. They do an excellent job of trying to mitigate overlap, so they wouldn't want like Kansas City and Des Moines on the same weekend. But if Kansas City and Va Beach have the same weekend, well, we're half a country apart. That's probably okay.
Right.
Even through December, January, those months, we still have hikes more weekends than we don't. They're just more Puerto Rico, South Texas, you know, places where it's a little nicer. Key West is in December, things like that.
So, I mean, obviously, Des Moines probably your favorite place to go on a hike, but out of all the others that you've been able to go to, what would you say is your second favorite?
I really can't pick a favorite. So I've done 4 different cities, and I take something different away from all of them. And as I've become a local coordinator, out of town hikes become something entirely different, because now it's not just, hey, I'm in a different city, I'm seeing different scenery, maybe a few different people. Now it's, well, how are they doing this? Oh, I want to take that idea and put it into my hike. Or that didn't go over well at all. We definitely don't want to try that. So it's I haven't made any destination type hikes. If I had to pick one that I want to do, it would be Normandy.
Oh, sure.
Hands down. There's no question. And that's a really small hike still, but that would be my top list.
What's the biggest one you've been to?
So I've pretty much stayed in the Midwest. I did my first non-Des Moines hike in August of last year, and it was Milwaukee. So I've done Milwaukee, St. Louis, KC, and Des Moines.
Okay.
Not too shockingly, they're very similar in concept of just how things roll because of the Midwest. Mm-hmm. There's different aspects. Like Milwaukee starts and stops. Most hikes start and stop in the same location, and lunch will be somewhere out in that loop. St. Louis, they did a start-stop point, which was also the lunch stop. It let them cover tremendously more area because we essentially went down toward downtown in the morning, came back, had lunch, then went out to the lake, came back. But we also lost a lot of hikers. It was a warm day, and they got back to it's like, there's my car. I think it's time to go home.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this in your position? And then what are you looking for when it comes to volunteers to help with the Irreverent Warriors, donations, what they go to, how do you use them? What do you do to raise funds?
So I was approached by our former local coordinator. She found out she was going to be losing her National Guard AGR job. So she was going to be leaving Iowa. So she approached me about taking over for her. And it was going to be a 18-month on-the-job training. We'd be tight at the hip throughout hike season, and I'd learn as I went. Fast forward about a month and a half or so, the end of March, and I get a call just before we left for our leadership conference saying, hey, I just got orders to Poland. You're in charge now. So I've only been in charge for a matter of months. In fact, I'm still going through our training for new LCs and everything. I don't have a lot to go on, based on the job in that regards, but I do see a lot of opportunities for Des Moines to grow. Historically, I've seen it looks like we have worried about fundraising just for the hike. And it's like, okay, if we need $3,000 for the hike, we need to raise $3,000. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where it ended. And nobody really had a bigger picture of, if we do this all year long, A, we're going to get more people. B, maybe somebody can do a monthly of $100 where they can't give us $1,000 today.
Right.
And that makes it, as we come into hike season, a lot easier to plan because we're not sitting there a month before the hike still trying to get donations to cover these costs or those costs.
Yep. Okay.
So what other ways can folks get involved if they maybe aren't veterans?
The most direct is we do have civilian volunteers to help with our hikes. So with Irreverent Warriors, you have to be a veteran in order to hike in the element on hike day. A lot of our other events, we're kind of talking before the show, we're going to be walking in the 8L Sweet Corn Festival Parade. We're going to be walking in the State Fair Veterans Day Parade. Those things, because they're not a IW Silky hike, are open to families as well. So spouse, kids, bring them along, walk in the parade if you want. From the actual hike, we have 2 what we call hike support coordinators. These are civilians. Both of them happen to be veterans' wives, and they kind of run the show. But we deal with, I think this year we had 12, 14 civilian volunteers, and they help us with setting tables up in the morning for registration, for any swag we're selling, goodie bags, all those kind of things. They also help. This year, we prepared our own lunch instead of had it catered in. So we had a strong contingent that went straight down to the park as soon as we stepped off for the hike, and they worried about getting the food set up, ready to go by the time we rolled in for lunch. Okay. So with civilian volunteers, feel free to shoot us a message at either on IW Iowa for Facebook, or if you want to email us, it's Des Moines at irreverentwarriors.com, and just ask us what we've got going on. A lot of times outside of the Silky Hike, we don't need a lot of volunteers for things, but like I said, we're trying to grow things and grow more activities throughout the year rather than just one big hike.
Perfect. That's
great. What does it take to put on a hike from start to finish?
Oh, I don't think we've got that much time. So like I said, I kind of got thrown into it 60 days out. But you've got to get, and depending on your location, really depends on the timeline you need to worry about. Because some locales, you may need to apply for a permit to do the hike a year out. Other locations, you may not even need a permit. So there's a lot of that kind of dictates when and how much is involved. But it's everything from making sure you've got all those permits for where you want to stop in your hike route if you're required to have one, figuring out a route and stops both. We walked this year. We did hike recon. We walked hike recon 3 times and drove it twice, and that was just to hey, this doesn't really work. Let's try this instead. You get those wrinkles ironed out. You get to stop into the various establishments, touch base with management and everything, and make sure that they can be ready for what you need when you need it. Example, one of our stops didn't technically open for an hour after we got there. So they opened up an hour early, packed with bartenders and barbacks, because essentially that's all we were looking for. We didn't need food or anything. So bring us in, turn us, and we're down the road to the next stop.
Nice.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, you got any more, Mark?
No, I'm just excited to have that representation at the golf event coming up in October.
Golf event. Yeah. We'll have the details here on the podcast on how people can register. We do have some playing spots available at the moment. We're doing 25 to 30 teams. It's going to be October the 7th, and all that information will be at Briarwood Club. Mark and I are actually covering the cost. So for each team that we put in at Briarwood, it's $80 per team that Briarwood charges to play.
Okay.
Mark and I are covering that cost. So our goal is to have the majority of these funds coming in going directly to Irreverent Warriors. Yep. So we're not taking a cut for that.
That's right.
So, you have your odds and ends, some food, some signage, some little things. But as far as the majority of the golf costs, we're covering.
Yep. So whether somebody just makes a flat-out donation, like some of our folks we served have already done, or they've signed up for a foursome, bought a team, we want as much of that to go towards Irreverent Warriors and support your cause as possible. So we decided early on we're just going to pay for the golf totally, so none of that cost is going to be eaten up.
Awesome. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is raising funds for a good cause, and I can't think of a better one than helping you guys out. I do have a question though. I mean, it's October. I know it's going to be chilly. He usually golfs in shorts. Can we get him some of those really ridiculously short shorts?
100%.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
The wilder, the better.
That'd be a little cool in October. But
I got some pineapple skull ones at home.
Start that way.
Oh boy. Well, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Come on, Dirk.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.